and today is another good morning, and I didn't feel like being on camera, which is not a problem at all, because I have an artist that I have kidnapped and I forced to do artwork. They live in the basement, and I was like, hey, just draw something based off chaos and stone, and we shall see how it goes. And so, that is what we're doing today. You get to listen to my beautiful voice as I tell you about the Stone Crasher class. Now, it seems like he spent a lot of time on those small eyes, which is great. He is a great artist in art school, and I give him enough to live off of and do art school in the basement. Now, the Stone Crasher class is kind of interesting because it's chaos and stone are the two magics at play here. There's 16 total unique magic abilities, and that is how I build all my classes. I pick 2 magic essences, and then I just kind of mix and match names and inspire all of them. And both of these magic essences are chaos and stone, which are defensive based. And that doesn't mean that they can only do defensive magic. It just means you basically get the most bang for your buck out of the magic when using it. In that sense, like even life or healing or like plant magic can be attack magic. You just might get more bang for your buck when you're using life magic to heal someone instead of trying to kill them. So the Stone Crasher was interesting. I couldn't really chaos and stone seems like such an odd combination. When I was doing word association, I came up with chaos as like messy, disorganized, not orderly, and then stone is like orderly, structured, stable, and all these things. And so it's like, they seem kind of naturally opposing in the way. And it was really tough. It took me about 6 total hours to come up with the 16 abilities and to flesh them out. And of course, more time is spent just sitting there like staring, but I'd say about 6 hours of actively pen moving, writing, and more hours will come as I revise. The name might even change. I'm expecting to do at least 4 hours of revision before all of these are ready for playtest per class. This is the 13th class in the series, and I am so excited to finally have 13 classes done and to be 1/4 of the way done. I think this challenge might take over a year at this point. I know it's kind of crazy, but I do have books that I like to write. I have other projects, and I think I will continue this one, but it's too fun. So the main ability that the Stone Crasher uses is called Disruption, and it's kind of like a different version of Counterspell. It doesn't just like outright destroy an attack, and it doesn't just outright fail. Instead, you roll a d6, and on a 1 through 5, you are able to reduce the damage of a spell or attack within 30 feet as a reaction by equal to the amount of your level. You can also choose to lower the saving throw DC equal to your proficiency bonus. So it scales really nicely through all your levels, and it always works. And so far, I kind of put the limits on how many times you can use these things when I have finished all the abilities, because that kind of can tell me how balanced this is going to be. And as a DM, I think it would be really annoying if once per round everyone is using a reaction. So anything that has a reaction, I think has to have some sort of limit, but I don't think that is that's a guideline, not a hard fast rule. And then there's some other cool abilities. At level 20, you get the Earthquake ability. At level 17, you get the Fissure ability. And there's a few other abilities that I really like, but my favorite 2 abilities that I have on my list are Chaos Stones, and let me grab it here. I guess Chaos Stones, I have an ability, I couldn't think of a good name for it, and it was like Forced Random. With Chaos, I was going to call it Forced Wild Surge, but I'm pretty sure that's not covered by the OGL, so I'll have to come up with something else. Chaos Stones are cool. I love the flavor text. It reads, "The natural forces of the world have taken notice of you as a new causation of natural disaster. As such, you have been awarded 3 Chaos Stones. When crushed, you can add 1 damage dice of a d20 to any attack roll. On a 1 result, the Chaos Stone does not regenerate." I kind of like this ability, except for the does not regenerate and you only get 1 back every long rest. seemed a little not balanced, and I'm going to tweak it. I already have a lot of ideas of how I'm going to balance it, but just getting the initial ability down at least like gives me a flavor that the ability is of like what this ability is going to do and kind of a ballpark of its power. And then once I have all the abilities together and I can kind of compare them with all these other 13 classes, I can finally get into that nitty-gritty balancing, which is why I haven't been making these videos as often, is because I've been balancing abilities nonstop. It is so much fun to go back, and now that I can see everything in context with everything else, it is so fun to balance these classes. And I don't know, I just love the idea of these like little rocks that you can crush. It's a bonus action is what I currently have that as. And it's a pretty good ability. It's a level 15 ability, and that's the only reason why I say it might be underpowered, is because you get it at level 15. Maybe I could give that to the player at like level 10 and then kind of keep it as is. And then maybe you only recover the 3 chaos stones on like a level up or something, kind of making it really unique and like this like, okay, I can use these. But if I roll a 1, then I do 1 damage, but I don't get the stone back, which is like, oof, that kind of hurts. Forced Random is also kind of an ability. I was a little worried about this one because, again, I don't want to do a bunch of abilities that are a lot of work for the DM. But it says, in reaction to a creature casting a spell or ability, you can force them to use a random ability of theirs instead. The DM counts the number of ability and rolls the smallest possible dice. If a number is rolled that is not on the dice, then nothing happens. I think that one sounds so fun. It sounds so fun, and I definitely have that limited, I think, to twice a day is what I have it. Or is it? On my paper, I have it limited to once a day. And it just sounds really cool and like a moment. It could be life-saving, could be threatening, and it's kind of like, yeah, you're playing chaos magic. What do you expect? You are going to be a breed of chaos. And the artist locked in the basement. Wow, they did such a good job with this. I love the like scruffy hair and the rocks, and all they had to go off of was the 2 cards that I pulled, which was Chaos and Stone. They kind of know the rarity of the essences, and they know if it's defense or not. But based off how little they're going off of, they're great. I really like this art. Actually, they did the art on this before I finished all the abilities, so I had to add 1 ability with them throwing stones. And in the one where they throw these boulders, they like crush into pieces right before it hits the target, kind of like exploding. Because I didn't just want like, I have some abilities where you can like pull up a stone wall and some things like that, but I kind of wanted this to be more about like, okay, yeah, you can manipulate Earth and do things with Earth, but you can also kind of find your bread and butter in like shattering Earth and doing all that sort of stuff. I love watching the artists work. They're doing such a good job. So the ability I am referencing is called Shattered Earth. Actually, it's not called Shattered Earth, that's different. This is Destructive Boulder. This one I had a really hard time kind of like imagining in words, but it was, you hurl a nearby chunk of earth, same as the stone wall rolls. That's just a copy for me. Anytime I'd copy and paste something, I just write that. Only when it reaches 5 feet from the target, it explodes, raining shrapnel in a 10-foot radius. Range is 30 feet, so it's kind of like Fireball. And then it does 46 bludgeoning damage, and on a failed dexterity save, you are knocked prone as well. So kind of a fun attack, and yeah, it takes an action, and the uses I have as equal to your proficiency modifier. And that's something that I'm going to do when I release these classes. I'll probably also have a custom like character sheet where on the side you can write down your abilities, and then there'll be a space where you can draw like the bubbles for how many uses you have. And that way, anytime I'm playing a homebrew class or even just a regular D&D class, that's the way I have to do it to even like make sense of all my abilities and keep track of the uses. And I am really, really proud of the custom character sheet I designed. That class looks absolutely amazing. I am so grateful for the artists that I have locked up doing this. For legal reasons, I do have to mention that they are doing this with consent and drawing all this artwork with consent. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe. Bye.